Welcome to Raven on the Rock, Denver's way to expose unique talent and original music from local artists. With your host, Rockin' Raven. You're going to enjoy what you are about to hear on Raven on the Rock. Brought to you by Rockin' Raven Productions and the Scoop 303.
Welcome back to Raven on the Rock. Hope you're staying warm out there. Lauren just told me it is now 1 degree. Right, Lauren?
1 degree.
That kind of stinks.
And just getting colder.
I know, we went from like summer to Chicago. It's bad out there. So I have Loren, don't tell me I'll say it right, Motoyama.
That's it.
Yes. But he goes by Mo.
Yes.
And, okay, do you go by Mo even when people are mad at you?
Well, I've been called worse.
Oh, okay.
So, Mo's just my nickname. I've been called that since I was a kid. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. Like through high school and stuff?
And before.
Yeah. Nice.
Yes.
Nice. So, Mo is the sound engineer at X Saloon and other places. Like where else have you been the sound engineer?
Well, there was a club that was in Arvada. It was called No Excuses. I was there for about a year and a half. There was another small club called TNR's. There was a place called Pinky's, and I work around town a lot of different places. I do freelance sound, so McCarthy's, Tailgate, just pretty much anywhere if they need somebody, they give me a call, hopefully.
Yeah. How'd you get into this business?
Well, it was back in high school. I knew some friends that had a band, and I had a really loud car stereo.
Oh.
So they figured that I was qualified to run sound, which I wasn't at the time. But I took it upon myself to figure out what it was all about, and I've been doing it since then. So
Very cool. So how long did that band last?
not very long.
No. Were you hired by other high school bands then?
No. It
No?
was. I was. After I got out of high school, there was some time that after some other bands, I worked with some other bands, but not so much out of high school.
Yeah.
But mostly afterwards.
So is this the only thing you do?
No, I've got.
Do you have a real job?
I do.
What do you do?
I deliver pizzas.
Ooh, for who? Can we say?
Blackjack.
Nice.
It's flexible, so.
Have you met Peyton?
No, he's.
Oh, he's Papa John's.
That's right.
Who's Blackjack?
We don't have one at the time, right now.
You did. You had
We
some
had,
Broncos.
We had Rod Smith, and we had who's the other one?
Oh yeah, Rod Smith. That's who I was thinking of. Yeah, I went to Blackjack up in Estes Park because I took my kids up there to go tubing, and I had at the time my youngest son was 2, and it was like my first time driving up to Estes, and or no, they went horseback riding. That's what it was, and. I remember I was going to take Kyle to Blackjack, and we had to wait, like, in the road for over 5 minutes for these elk to cross the road.
Oh, the bugling elk?
It was so cool. It was very cool. So that's my memory of Blackjack.
Okay.
But it's good pizza. Good pizza. So, tell me, Lauren, what is, like, your favorite kind of music? You must hear it all, right?
I hear a lot, yeah.
Because X doesn't have, like, any sort of genre.
Well, it's more of a rock, classic rock, modern rock. My favorite is more the old blues-based rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. The stuff that came out, the Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones, that kind of, the bluesy stuff.
Yeah.
Clapton, Yardbirds.
You must love Dreamboat Annie because they do all of that.
They do.
Yeah, she does. Or I don't know what happened to them. I have to get a hold of them. But Sucker Punch. Were they ever at X?
Sucker Punch, yes.
With Rich, his voice, when you close your eyes, you think you're at a Journey concert.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's.
I've worked with them. It's been a while. I haven't seen them for a
Yeah.
long time.
I just thought of that. I'm gonna have to find out what's going on with that.
Worked with Maiko. He was the guitar player. In another band he was with, can't remember the name of it offhand, but I worked with him, it was 8-10 years ago in another band.
Yeah. Yeah, he was with Sucker Punch a long time. And Ron Galindo, drummer,
Right?
and Rob yeah,
Monkey. Yes.
who is now with Dream But Annie.
Yes.
So do you see a lot of this where you'll see a band and then the next year you'll see the guitar player in another band and then the drummer in another band? And
Oh, all the time.
I bet.
Yeah, they will get together. They'll play for a while, and then somebody will break off, and then
Right.
somebody will come back, and then they'll break up, and then they'll reform as another band. Right now, there's 513, Fallen, and Seventh Time are all breaking up to join up with one band, Guild of Ages.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they've all, which is an old band that they were all together with 10, 12 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And they decided that they wanted to get back together because they got to offer to do a show in England last month.
Wow.
Yeah, they had an album out back then, and they had fans out there, and somebody got a hold of them and said, "Can you do a show?" And so, well, we haven't played together for over a decade, but they got back together and went out to England, and things went really well. So
That's awesome.
they're breaking up 3 bands to reform another one that they had
Right.
before. So
That's
they'll
awesome.
all get back together. The other pieces will find
Right.
places soon.
Oh, I'm sure. That's what this music scene's all about, finding your niche.
Yes,
And it has a lot to do with the chemistry, too.
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of bands break up, I'm sure. You can cough. That's okay. I don't want you to choke over there. It's just radio. It's all right. I don't want to ask you what your favorite band is, but what is like some of the funniest things you have seen?
Well, there's always drunk stories.
I know.
There's always
know.
drunk stories.
Tell me one.
Well, there was one band I was working with, and it was a singer-bass player's birthday, and they kept bringing him shot after shot after shot after shot, and it got to near the end of the night in the last set, and all of a sudden he just laid down on the stage and
Oops.
yeah, just laid down on the stage and was done.
Did they finish the show without him, or was
Yeah,
that
they
it?
did. They did finish without him. It was
Oh my goodness.
kind of incomplete, but it's a birthday show, so.
Gotta have fun.
Well, he was nice enough to drink the drinks that everybody bought him, so.
I did that once.
They should feel happy that it's their fault for getting him that drunk.
Yeah. I did that at G.I. Jody's at a fundraiser. It wasn't pretty. So at my birthday party, when I had it at X, Jeff insisted on buying me a shot of tequila, but that was the only one, and I sipped it all night. I was good.
Well,
Do you feel like when X hires a band, it's a job, right?
yes, it is.
Do you feel that way? I feel that way.
Yes, it is.
And I feel like they should be very professional. And yeah, sometimes there's musicians out there that just do it for the drinking, I think.
There are. For the most part, if they don't perform well and they act, unprofessionally,
Do you pull their plug?
they do.
You have the power.
I don't have the power.
You can pull their plug.
I have influence, but I don't have the power.
Oh, come on, Loren. You've never done that? Man, that bass player sucks.
Influence.
Click.
Influence only.
So you got new owners over there.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Shannon and Jason, they're from San Diego. And,
Why did they come this way?
well, actually, I guess Shannon is from Colorado, so.
I bet you today they want to go back to San Diego.
Especially Jason. He's from San Diego.
Oh, poor Jason. Well, Jason, it could be worse. You could be in Chicago.
It's probably nicer there today.
I don't know. They said that this cold front's going through the whole United States.
Can't be much worse.
Yeah, it's bad out here today. I started my car, though. Yay.
Is that?
Yes. It only took like 10 minutes because I didn't start it yesterday. And I keep forgetting in this cold weather, I got to go start it a couple times a day, like, when it's like this. And poor Loren lost his headlight today.
Yeah, it's
one of those $120 ones.
It is. You got to go through the wheel well, and
yeah,
it's a big mess. It went out December last year, and I'm kind of disappointed about that.
Take it back.
Didn't last long.
The same one?
Well, they both went out within about 4 days of each other.
Really?
Yeah. So I had them both replaced in December last year. Now one's already out again.
Well, that stinks.
It does stink.
Emma's headlights are like $7.
I know. That's what I was hoping. I figured that another headlight, just pop the thing in.
Yeah. Nope.
It's like, how do I get this thing apart?
Y'all want those new fancy cars. That's what you get.
That's it.
Well, you know what? We're going to play a little physical thing by Velarde, and we will be right back with, maybe he'll give us some dirt on something exciting. We'll be right back with more Mo.
Such a physical thing, the way you're watching me sing, I don't know if I should say something. My feelings sometimes tell me wrong. It's such a physical thing, the way you're watching me sing. Physical thing. Find me the right should pursue you till it's done. And if I try and make the first move, then I will feel like I have won. Yeah, yeah. It's such a physical thing, the way you're watching me sing. Oh, Lord. Oh, yeah.
Pepperdine's integrated approach to business solutions offers you access to an array of products and services through decades of experience, state-of-the-art production processes, as well as inspired technological innovation. Whether your business or organization requires printed marketing materials, promotional ads, specialty items, commercial signage, stamps, or simply functional internal forms, their dedicated staff will provide the level of personal service and support your project deserves. Pepperdine's is located at 790 Umatilla Street, Denver, Colorado, 80204, or call 303-595-3663.
Hi, I'm Kenny Lee. You're listening to Raven on the Rock.
All right, we're back with a little more Mo. So I just got all this equipment because I got an investor from California, and got all this new stuff here. What is your favorite stuff to work with? Do you have a favorite brand?
Well, I'm pretty familiar with the Allen and Heath mixing boards. I've worked with a lot of those, and they work really well. They sound good. Midases are very good too. I like Midas. The technology has really started to change, though, within the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah?
Everything's, as far as mixers and everything, have gone pretty much digital. Mm-hmm. So what used to take a van to haul around can now be put into a suitcase. It's really condensed everything that, as far as equipment.
Right.
There's everything's just, you push a button and you recall what you had last time. It's got memory. Some of them have automatic level.
That doesn't always work, though, does it?
No, it's hard when if you go working with the same band over and over again, it works really well, and you're going from room to room, you can just recall. But if you're plugging in a new band, it's a longer process to get everything going, instead of just reaching for a knob or button, and just, you have to go through a process of push a button, turn a knob, push a button, turn a knob.
Yeah.
It is where everything's going, though.
Because I'll tell you, Mo, I can have a perfect show, and all I do is turn the off button. And then I come back the next day, and something is not right. Nothing's moved.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
It's unexplainable. Sometimes it just happens.
Okay,
you can go in one night and you have everything great, and then you come in the next night, turn everything on, and nothing's changed, and you're going, what happened?
Well, now that's got to be something hard for you, because you're not the only sound engineer at X.
No, I'm actually, I fill in down there.
Right.
But I'm there most of the time, as opposed to other places. That's my primary room that I work in.
Do you have like certain ways you like things, and then the other ones have, so you got to go in and change everything, or no?
Not so much.
Pretty much the same?
Blake Hemmert, he's the house engineer there.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal is to go in there, and when I run sound, have people not notice a difference. Mm-hmm. So we do have, similar preferences. So, there's slight differences that probably nobody would know but Blake or myself. But
Right.
my goal is to go in there and have things sound the same, whether it's him or me,
Right.
so that there doesn't seem to be a big discrepancy of, well, they should be this guy or that guy. Or there's
So as far as being easier to put it in a suitcase, do you prefer digital over analog?
it has its advantages and disadvantages. The analogs are fine. I mean, I've been running those for years and years and years. The digitals are still a little strange to me. I haven't run a lot of them, and it's still a learning curve for me right now. But they have a lot of processing on them for effects and compression and things that probably people aren't understanding what I'm saying. But there's a lot of times you'll have a rack full of just devices, that electronic devices that, 4 or 5 feet tall, full of all kinds of stuff that is just condensed into like a chip and stuck in
Right.
the mixer.
Exactly.
And instead of having 4 of them, you have 16 or 24 of them on that chip, and it's pretty amazing what they've done with all that.
Yeah.
And they're still, it's like 4 or 5 years, and they are still advancing quite rapidly with what they're doing there. And another one of the big things that have really changed is the monitoring for the performers on stage to hear themselves and their instruments and their voices. So much more of it is going to in-ear monitors. We just, like earbuds but they're special, expensive ones with custom molded for their ears.
Right.
They have iPads that they can control their own monitoring with.
Yeah.
That's another thing, though, about the digital boards out front. They have everything's so much now has gone to Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
You can operate the mixer from some remote location
Right.
off an iPad.
Yeah, Cassie does that for Psycho X.
Yeah. It's because I've been in some strange places running sound. I mean,
Yeah.
behind the stage in another room. Recently, I was outdoors. There was a stage, and I was like 100 yards away in a building on the second floor looking out a window.
How can you hear though?
You have to wander around and go back and make an adjustment. Then you go back down and you come back and you make an adjustment. And
Because don't you want to hear what the audience is hearing?
yeah, you have to go down in the audience and you have to listen, wander around a bit, and use your judgment and go back up and hope you get it right. It's sometimes it's not ideal where you're at. It's not ideal what you're doing, but like I said, the digital boards with the iPads does eliminate that. You can just make the adjustments right there.
Right. Joe is up in North Glen, and he listens to my show, and he'll text me, and he'll say, "This isn't right. That isn't right." And I'll try to fix it. But yeah, you gotta be there.
You do.
It's not a quick fix if you're in another room,
Another building.
right?
But I've run sound in some strange places. But you learn to kind of gauge what you hear out front to what you hear behind and understand the differences. And after a while, you learn the room, you learn the area.
Now, with all this Wi-Fi stuff, have you run into problems with stuff interfering? Like, what about wireless mics? And can it, like, all interfere with each other?
Well, no, it can, but it's usually just a quick change of a channel.
Yeah.
Now, the wireless microphones that from 8-10 years ago, most of those have been outlawed now because the FCC has taken over those frequencies. So those old microphones had to be retired because
Really?
they're like only for like emergency channels or something now. And
Like my natty?
well, I don't know.
I think I got, well, no, I
A
don't
lot
think it
of
was
these
8 or 10 years
microphones
ago.
run on frequencies that have been taken over by the FCC for other purposes.
Ooh.
Yeah. And you can get some interference from that.
I would think.
Yeah. But
Got me curious. Now I'm going to have to Google that. Oh, all righty.
there's always
then.
something, isn't there?
It's all, yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to play a little Reckless Red because Mo says he has not heard this. This is CJ Nikolai.
Okay.
You heard of her?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you're going to love this then.
All right.
All right. Here's Guilty by Reckless Red.
Well, I knew what I was doing when I crossed that line. I broke every law of this heart of mine. And I'm guilty, guilty as I can be. If love is a crime, baby, throw the book at me. I should be in shackles, locked up in chains. Lord, as my witness, I gotta plead insane. I'm guilty, guilty as I can be. If love is a crime, baby, throw the book at me. I'll take a stand. I'm here to testify. All I want is just us, just you and I. Yeah, I ain't asking for mercy, just stating my case, and a judge could see by the look on my face that I'm guilty, guilty as I can be. If love is a crime, baby, throw the book at me. If love is a crime, baby, throw the book at me. Yeah. If love is a crime, baby, throw the book at me. 'Cause I'm guilty.
So what do you think of Miss CJ?
That was pretty cool.
I love her voice. She has an awesome voice. We're going to play a little hornbuckle now. You were talking about, what were we talking about before? You said something about trial and error?
I have seen them, and I did somewhat work with them one time. He just kind of stepped in and filled in one point.
Oh,
And
yeah?
I was working in a club. I was with Steve Crenshaw,
Yeah.
and it was quite a show.
Yeah.
There was
Well, we'll
a
have
lot of talent up there.
yeah, we'll have to play a little hornbuckle and then a little Crenshaw.
All right.
All right, here's Lost and Found by Trial and Error. That was Mr. Michael Hornbuckle and Brian Hornbuckle on bass. And a bunch of other people in there, too. We got some awesome musicians here, don't you think?
Absolutely. There's a lot of talent here.
There is. And I need to get it out there all over. They
I
need
think
to
you're
be
the one to
heard.
do it.
Well, I hope so. There's a lot of crap on the radio nowadays. You know, and I mean, I grew up when Laura and Rob were in different beds, you know? And those of you guys out there who don't know who I'm talking about, Google the Dick Van Dyke Show. Or Andy Griffith. Or, you know, remember Andy
Mayberry.
Griffith? Yeah. And Otis got to lock himself up in the
That's
cell. Yeah, and spend the weekend. If only times were still like that. I'm so my father. Are you finding that as you get older, you are more your parents?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know.
Maturity?
I guess it's just the way things happen. I don't know.
I mean, my dad used to yell at me for listening to Journey and AC/DC.
Well, music is kind of it's for the youth. Rock and roll is for the youth. And it's a generational thing. You know, everybody's, that rock and roll is evil. It's the devil's music.
Well, metal is. Yeah, I've heard that. And you can play those records back. Well, you can't play them backwards anymore because they're CDs.
Yeah.
How do you play a CD backwards? You can't.
Well, I guess you have to rip it and then find some program on your computer.
Sure, somebody's out there that's doing it, right? All right. So what about a little Crenshaw now? Speaking of evil. You want to hear a little Crenshaw?
I love Crenshaw.
All right. Steve Crenshaw with Evil.
It's a long way from home. You can't sleep at night. You call on your telephone. Yeah, something just ain't right. And that's evil. Evil's going on. I'm warning you, brother. You better watch a happy home. You make it to your house, knock on your front door, run right to the back, and catch him just before he goes. And that's evil. Evil's going on. I have warned you, brother. You better watch her. You better watch her happy home.
That was Mr. Steve Crenshaw. He was on my show a couple weeks ago, so go check out the archives and take a listen. That was a fun show. We laughed a lot. He made me laugh a lot. So I have a question for you.
Sure.
Ooh, I have 2 questions for you.
Uh-oh.
I know the answer to the second one, though. What would be your dream gig to run sound for?
Well, it'd probably be in like big arena like Madison Square Garden with, Led Zeppelin or something like that.
You mean my birthday show wasn't your dream gig? Oh, I'm just messing with you.
That was an awesome gig though. We had Dreamboat Annie in there, and
That was fun.
that was fun.
That was a fun night.
One of the cool things, is I'm a sports fan too. So if you've ever seen, the broadcasts they do for like football games, the trucks they have for all the broadcasts, they have all the feeds for like 30 cameras and all the
You'd like to do
microphones
that?
and for the broadcasters and the field mics and all the graphics and the instant replays and all that. That would be really cool to go in there and see how all that works.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun.
You don't want to do it. You just want to see.
Well, I have to kind of get my feet wet and see what's going on in there, because they do that all on the fly, just go, and it's pretty impressive. I mean, it looks just kind of seamless when you're watching it, but when you think about what they're actually doing in there, there's quite a bit going on in there.
Now the cameras that like go over the field.
Those are been developed over like the last 10 years, but those things, they have cables that run from the tops of the stadiums, and they run those things on remotes. Those things are pretty neat.
I'm hoping that there's like one person for each camera. That would be like
I think
crazy.
Yeah, somebody's got to be directly operating that individual camera, because otherwise it'd get left behind and forgotten about.
Yeah, too crazy. So would that be your dream gig, or the Madison Square Garden and Led Zeppelin?
Probably Madison.
Okay.
Madison Square Garden.
All right, you guys, if you're listening out there,
of course you'd have to get Led Zeppelin back together again.
hey, they'll do it for you. Guild of Ages is back together, right?
That's right.
Stranger things have happened. I think they would do that for you, Mo.
Let's get on that.
Okay, let's get on that. All right. I got another question for Mo, but we're going to ask him right after these messages. At the Tailgate Tavern and Grill.
Enjoy happy hour specials every day, 7 days a week from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Don't forget Wednesday night at the Tailgate Tavern is karaoke. Sign up starts at 8. Sunday, band auditions are from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And don't forget, Sin Night. Service industry employees get 2 for 1 on wells, drafts, and bottles from 6 p.m. to close on Sunday. A pay stub, name tag, or valid ID is required. The Tailgate Tavern and Grill is located at 19552 East Main Street in Parker, Colorado.
Hey, this is Billy Van Kuren from the Santa Fe Band. You're listening to Raven on the Rock. More cowbell.
Yeah, doom doom. My cowbell.
You're very good with that.
What advice do you have? And I'm going to take this one to heart too. I think this question was asked to educate me.
Okay. We're in school.
Besides a shot of tequila before my show. Really, I don't do that. I swear. What advice do you have for fledgling sound men and women?
Well, there's 2 aspects to it. And one is the technical aspect, and that's knowing what your equipment is, what it does, how it all fits together, where it fits in the chain of the system. And you need to understand how the system works and what the individual pieces are, because it may not be the first night or the first week or the first month, but eventually, some point in time, something's going to go wrong. And when it does,
You're kidding.
I wish I was. I wish I was. But when something goes wrong, you're going to be there all alone, and you're going to have to figure out how to fix it.
Right.
And when something like that happens, everybody looks at you. It's like, what'd you do?
Right. Right.
I didn't do anything. It's not my fault. But you have to get it fixed. And if you don't know anything about how the equipment works and how it's all fits together, you're in trouble, because that's a showstopper.
Right. Oh, I know.
And you have to be able to fix it quick, too. So
Been there,
you
done
can't
that.
be going on the internet and Googling and trying to figure out how it all works. Calling your friends and all that. You need to be able to fix it right away.
Right.
That's the one aspect. And then the other aspect is you have to listen. And you listen with your ears, but you also have to listen with your body. With all the drums and the low end and everything, you also listen with your body. I told that to somebody one time, and he looked at me like my head just spun around and spit out green or something. It's like, what? Because the low end has, the thump and everything. You need to feel that with your body and while you're listening. And over the years, I've kind of developed like scanners in my head that kind of automatically monitor for things that don't sound right, volumes that are too loud or too soft, or
Too much bass.
yeah, the feedback that comes. And over the years, I've kind of developed a lot of those little scanners in my head that all running at the same time. When you're mixing, Roger Daltrey sang in a song one time, "It's the singer, not the song, that makes the music move along." Take that to heart. The vocals, you need to hear the vocals, because I found if you have problems with the vocals, it doesn't take long for somebody to come running up to you and say, "I can't hear the singer," and they're very demanding, like they want to hear it now.
Right.
And so the vocals, generally, you want those right on top, because that's the show.
Right. I agree.
And of course, with the other instruments, drums, that's the primal instrument. That's the boom, psh, boom, psh. That's what gets your foot tapping and gets people moving, and you need that present. And then guitars, that's the melody, and the bass supplements the beat with the drums, and and you don't want tones that are piercing to the ears. You want to be able to keep things to where it's listenable and without hurting people.
Right.
A lot of musicians think that louder is better, but louder,
It's not.
no, it's not. It's rock and roll. It's supposed to be loud. You expect loud, but too much is too much.
Right. Well, it's like, and they all want to turn up their instrument over each other.
Right.
So you've got a fight going on.
There is a competition on stage with stage volume.
And everybody wants to have an 11 on their
They do. They do. A lot of the technology now with the in-ear monitors has eliminated a lot of that, because it's only what they hear in their ears. They don't get the outside instruments coming through, so they can control how much of whatever they want directly into their ears. And so it used to be that the old PAs, they didn't carry, there was mostly vocals and a little bit of instrument, and they supplemented what came off the stage.
Right.
So you would see stages with 10 Marshall stacks. That's 5 amplifiers with powering 40 speakers. And that they needed that to fill the arenas, so the guitars could be heard. But as PAs have progressed, that's become less and less necessary, because it's all running through the PAs now. And for instance, I went to a concert a couple of years ago, and they had 10 Marshall stacks on stage. That's 10 amplifiers running 80 speakers.
Wow.
And I was up close, and I thought, I'm just going to get killed with these guitars.
Yeah.
And they came on stage, and I was like, where's the guitars? Where's the guitars? And I stepped back, and I could hear them in the PA. And it turns out I started looking around a little closer on the stage. They were running just single cabinets with 4 speakers in it next to the drum riser. And
it's all
the
show.
stacks, they were all show because it's not necessary anymore with the PAs that they have.
Right. That's funny.
But with the monitors they have now, very little stage volume is needed if they really want to do it that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you want people to enjoy it.
Yes,
You also want them to enjoy their evening too.
that's right. Now, depending on the PA, the system that you're running through, oftentimes in the smaller clubs and so on, you do need to turn your guitar up because they're not going to be, the PA can't handle all that. But if you have a good PA, turn it down, use the monitors, and let the sound come through the PA rather than just trying to turn your amp up to 11.
All right. Do you know any sound women besides Cassie? No, you don't, do you?
There was another one. Can't remember her name at the off the hand, but she also worked with Psycho X. Well, they were Tick 60 back then, and she worked at Brewski's. She was also trained by Scotty Brown, so she was doing that for a while.
So you know two.
I know one and knew another. I'll say that.
So why do you think women don't get into this?
I'm not sure.
I know why, because I'm getting gray hairs just doing this.
I'm not sure. I think they'd be well suited for it, just as any man would be. It's just if they decide to do it or not.
We're going to have to work on that.
You need some training.
We need some...
Maybe you could teach me some things.
Me?
You got a nice studio in here.
You know, you were talking about before learning your equipment. I got to tell you something. Reading the directions on this stuff does nothing for me. If it wasn't for Joe explaining to me what each thing does and why it does it, you don't get that in the manual, you know? So there's more to that.
Well, there's...
I mean, I just don't want people to think, okay, they're going to go out and buy a mixer and, you know, and a headphone amp, and they're going to be able to do it.
Right. Well, what I found is that how the operate a mixing board and all the equipment isn't as difficult as it look. I mean, you can see a mixer and it's got hundreds of buttons, knobs, faders, switches, and everything. And, you know, just from a first glance, first time you see one of those, like, oh my gosh, what's that got on it? It's just ridiculous.
Mine was, holy shit, what did I get myself into?
It's ridiculous. What is that thing? And it just looks like the most complicated thing in the world, but it's not that complicated. It's not as bad as you think, because there's duplicates of everything. And it's just the matrix of all the same things over and over and over again. But to actually operate it and get something to sound good
it takes a little tweaking.
That takes some time to learn. That's something you learn through experience, or at least it did for me. It's like you can get something to sound good by itself, but when you mix it in with the band, something's wrong. You're going, what's wrong?
Right.
So,
and then they bring in their instruments, and I plug them in, and then I got to learn their instrument and how it sounds. And yeah, this isn't something that, you know, you can walk in here at 5 minutes to 6 and we're ready to go. My sound checks are just as important as doing a live show. You know what?
Absolutely.
We're going to do a little Kate LaRue, and then we are going to come back and talk about a little bit about these bands, and yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds great.
All right. Doing It All for Love by Kate LaRue.
Listen up, will you help me through the times I'm lost with eyes too blind to see? Will you hold my hand, remind me that you understand? Will you walk away after all the things you said? Will you walk my way when I'm doing it all for love? Doing it all for doing it all for love. Can I count on one hand all the promises you'll keep? Will you let me down or put my heart to sleep? Will you walk away after all the things you said? Will you walk my way when I'm doing it all for love? Doing it all for doing it all for love. And all this time I'm giving you my best, and all I need to be better than the rest, and all I want is nothing more, nothing less than us. Will you walk away after all the things you said? Will you walk my way when I'm doing it all for love? Doing it all for doing it all for love.
Rock All Over You. Customized fashion, jewelry, and much more. Get your bling on at Rock All Over You. Check out their link on the left side of the Raven on the Rock website. Now.
This is Tabor from Ghost of Ivy. You're listening to Raven on the Rock.
Do you know Ghost of Ivy?
No, I don't.
I saw that they went to round 2 of Cheers Battle of the Bands.
Ah,
Yeah. Scott Tabor, I'm trying to get them on the show. I went and saw them at Woody's. They're really good.
yeah.
Yeah, very good. Maybe you should get them in X.
Done some battles of the bands.
You? Yeah.
Yes.
How'd that go?
Well, we had the radio station came in there, and for what was it, 6-7 years we had a battle of the bands, best band in Denver
At X?
competition. Yes, it was. Did those? It was what, 18 bands over the period of 6 weeks, then semifinals and finals.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of bands in there, a lot of talent, a lot of good stuff in there.
Huh. So tell me, how could these bands work better with Well, not only sound people, but one of my biggest questions is that I'm trying to figure this out and trying to fix it. The bands do their own advertising for their shows, but the venue should also do some advertising.
Right.
It should be and there's a lot of venues out there that'll look at a band and say, well, how many people are you bringing in?
Well,
How many people are you bringing in?
they have to sell the drinks to pay the bills. So.
Right, but it's up to the venues to get people in there also.
Yes, it
It's just
is.
not up to the band.
Right.
And so when a band comes in, and what can they do to make the show better?
You mean to bring more people in?
No, to help you out.
Well, a lot of the bands, they'll come in, and once they've kind of understand the routine and the stage and everything, it's automatic for them. But
Right.
they should talk to the sound person. They shouldn't be wandering in and plugging in. You've had people come in and they plug into the light dimmer packs, which is going to blow up everything, their equipment, and they start pulling cords and moving speakers and equipment around, and they should wait for somebody to get some instruction, because then if they start doing that kind of stuff, then you're working backwards to get back to
Right.
zero so you can start over again.
Right.
Just get some instruction of how the stage is run.
Right, because every
before-
venue is not the same.
No, they're not.
No.
And a lot of people, they rent their systems out to bands. So a lot of people they'll work with the same system, even though it's the same system, but they'll go to club, but they'll have the same system, or they'll have their own system. And so that's a little bit easier in that way, but there still needs some instruction about where the power's at and how
Right.
they want to set up, and don't block these TVs and that kind of thing. Make sure that somebody in charge of the
Don't
stage.
block my hatch door.
That's right. Make sure they talk to somebody that's in charge of the stage or the club or the room or something before they really start plugging in and setting up and moving things around, and because otherwise they can cause some chaos.
Now X has their own sound system.
Yes, they do.
So it's kind of like my stuff here. Like when you come in, bands don't have their own sound system too, do they?
No. Some of them bring their own monitor system, which is good because they have things set the way they had. They can plug in and start where they left off last time, and they don't have to go through so much sound check and so many problems. Now, X has a system that is a little more complicated than a lot of clubs. They have an actual separate monitor mixer that's on the stage that is designated only for monitors, and then there's one in the front of the house where you mix for the audience.
Oh, is that why you keep running back there in that little corner?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's what it is. Yeah, there's an actual separate monitor mixer up there. It's a lot more efficient, except when you're working by yourself and you're having problems. Then you're running back and forth, but it's separate, and you have more control over everything. The big venues, the stadiums, the arenas, and that's a very professional type of setup where you have the separate monitor mixer and system up there rather than just running it from the front. It's simpler to run it from the front, but it's not as efficient.
So what you're saying is the band members could go over there and mess with their own monitors.
Well,
No,
they can, but
they shouldn't.
well, if they know what they're doing, some people. Sometimes you'll show them, this is your knob right here. This one right here. That's your knob. If you need more, turn that knob. And
Don't touch the other ones.
well, they just don't.
You need little tags with their names on them.
They put a little piece of tape on there and say, that's your knob. If you want more, turn that knob. Because it's hard for them to just run back there real quick in the middle of between songs and find what they're at. Can you come up here and show me? That's your knob right there. That's your knob. And I'm fine with that if they want to do that, as long as it doesn't cause feedback. Right. Feedback is the big bad.
Yes. I've gotten some feedback in here a couple times.
Is that right?
Yeah, it hurts. It definitely hurts.
Don't hang your headphones on your mic.
No, it wasn't even that. One of the guests leaned forward toward the mic. And it was like, holy shit.
Oh.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty. So I'm going to play a little Bobby Doran right now. Have you heard of him?
No.
I'm just opening
you're just
your
blowing
eyes.
my mind tonight.
I
blowing
am.
my mind.
Go good. And when we come back, I want to talk about not actually costumes, but a respectable look. I'll see how you feel about that.
Okay.
We'll be right back with more Mo.
Had a little room to grow. Caught about the George and sliding down from the pole. I asked her if she would like to swing. She said that she'd try anything. From that moment on, I was with the couldn't leave her alone. When high school came, there was any typing on the phone. Had her hair in a mess, white dress, and a ring in her nose. Pulled out her cherry lollipop, and that's when I felt my heart stop. Kissing on my neck in the bathroom, she was ready to go. It's just the way you swing those hips around, looking for someone new to fix your lips around. You're the talk of the town, they know you've been sleeping around. You got a real bad reputation, a taste that's sweeping the nation. She's a choice of a whole generation. Dropped out of school trying to make a life on her own. I heard she had a kid and a boyfriend hit the road. With red lipstick, turning her tricks, but still I need to get my fix. And now she's over busy cleaning up her broken home. Oh, her high heel boots have got the boys all over the road. It's just the way you swing those hips around, looking for someone new to fix your lips around. Cause you're the talk of the town, they know you were sleeping around. You got a real bad reputation, a taste that's sweeping the nation. She's a choice of a whole generation. Look out, boys, here she comes. Sure to chew you up, but never let you down. Look out, girls, here she comes. You ever wonder why your man ain't never around? So keep on dancing, dancing. Keep on dancing, dancing. Keep on dancing, swinging those hips around. Keep on dancing, oh, I hear you even turn the ladies on. Keep on dancing. I'm making all the fellas jealous when I hit the acapella, but I never meant to ruin your game. Had my chance at the high school days, but you drank too much hot lemonade. So tell your girl you're working late because you need another taste so you can feel the trash of roses and a box of Chardonnay. A girl that's used to having her way, she'll chew you up and spit you out. What is all the fuss about? It's just the way you swing those hips around, looking for someone new to fix your lips around. You're the talk of the town, they know you've been sleeping around. You got a real bad reputation, a taste that's sweeping the nation. She's the choice of a whole generation. Look out, boys, here she comes. Sure to chew you up, but never let you down. Look out, girls, here she comes.
That was Mr. Bobby Doran. I I'm going to play a little, before we get back to talking to Mo, I'm going to play a little White Trash.
White Trash.
White Trash. Now, the email that I got this song in, they were called the Hillbilly Hellcats. But the label on this song says the Jive Pumpkins. So I'm gonna have to do a little investigation. So this is White Trash by either the Jive Pumpkins or the Hillbilly Hellcats.
Bitch on a bowling team. And you didn't talk to me. Trash baby, you just like me. I got a girl in the trailer park. She got 10 dogs and they love to bark. She keeps me there out on her own. Flower sticks and the grass is grown. Pink flamingos is all she loves. What's this cocoa sitting in her car? Bitch on a bowling team. And you didn't talk too clean. You sing on society. But white trash baby, you just like me. I got 3 dead cars and soon be more. I got the engines all part of the junk. Oh, it's a covered in grease and gun. I ain't pay the rent and they're kicking me out. I wonder what all this fucks is about. Bitch on a bowling team. And you didn't talk too clean. You sing out society. Like the white trash baby, you just like me. You just like me.
Supporting local businesses doesn't stop with the economy. It is all about creating a stable and vibrant community. Stimulate our economy by browsing Rely Local's business directory. Saving money doesn't have to cost you, and you no longer have to weed the coupon books that fill your mailbox. Just print them from Rely Local Littleton. Rely Local has combined online job boards and newspapers to provide you with the most local jobs in the Littleton area. Get connected. We want you to be an active partner in our campaign to rebuild the Littleton economy. Rely Local Littleton, your source for supporting local businesses.
Today's Rely Local, Meet a Local Leader is Autumn Flourish Floral and Gifts. They do custom, unique, and traditional bouquets. Their shop is family-owned and operated and has an award-winning florist available to take your orders. Terry Pepper from Autumn Flourish Floral and Gifts was the second-place winner in the 2011 Florist Association of the Rockies Rocky Mountain Cup. They are a family-owned and operated business with over 17 years of experience in the floral design industry that provides quality products and services for every occasion for home and business. With floral arrangements to suit every style and budget, their expert staff can assist you in making the perfect choice. They thrive on creating creative and unique designs, and their underlying foundation is quality and value. From the most intimate gathering to the grandest affair, your special event receives their utmost attention. Their quality flowers, creative designs, and professional service are their trademarks. They will go that extra mile to meet their customers' every need. Autumn Flourish Floral and Gifts is located at 5924 South Kipling Parkway, Unit A, Littleton, Colorado 80127. Give them a call at 303-973-1526.
This is Raven with Eggs and Kegs Radio Show here on VRDO, and you're listening to Rockin' Raven.
All right.
Rockin' Raven.
Yeah, we're going to have you do one before you go. So, what do you think? How long have you been doing this? Can I ask?
Oh, since the 80s.
Okay, so it's 20, 30 years?
Yeah, I took a break there for a while.
Okay, the
but
80s were spandex, though.
spandex and big hair.
Yeah. Okay, and even that was like a groomed uniform.
It was, yeah.
What do you think about all this is going on now? You know, wife beaters and shorts and flip-flops.
Well, image is everything, I guess.
It is.
Rock and roll is a music of the youth. And what comes out today is targeted for the youth that's the young right now. The 60s, they targeted the youth, the 70s. I mean, all the generations have their music, and, it's all, for the most part, it's targeted at the youth.
Okay, but am I so my dad or what? Is it okay to, like, show up in... I mean, look at the way I'm dressed now. I would not go out to a show looking like this.
You look great.
Yeah, but I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt.
Well...
To me, that's not... I don't know. I'm my father. I just think, like, if you watch the movie... Well, not the movies, but the shows of Elvis Presley.
Right.
And they show out in the audience.
The big cape and the...
Yeah, but I'm not just talking about Elvis. When they scanned the audience, those women had their hair done and they were wearing dresses. I mean, be a little presentable,
Yeah.
So if the band, it's just like, the football players, if Peyton Manning was out there, F you, F you, F you, these young kids watching him, looking up to him would think that's okay.
Right.
Don't we want our musicians to, when these kids come and see them, to, like, inspire them to
dress a little nicer, pull up their pants?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. It's not all about showing the boxers. I don't want to see your boxers.
I think they're pulling them up today, though.
Are they?
Yeah, it's a little cold for that.
Oh, you mean today in general? Yeah, but I think bands should take a little more pride in, because they're, they practice all this music and write these awesome songs, and I just think they should take a little more pride.
Yeah.
I do.
You look at some of the big bands, they had a lot of, Robert Plant had his fringes, and so did Roger Daltrey, and you got Elvis with his capes and his all that stuff. They should look something
right.
Well,
even,
the clubs, the small clubs and stuff. I mean, they should look good
because it's a job.
Yes,
and they're getting paid.
Yeah,
and people are paying to see them.
That's right.
Yes. And I'm not saying, the cape and the jumpsuits, even a button-down shirt, Come on. Yes? If you out there have any thoughts on this, message me on Facebook or
See,
get
a lot
on the
of people
chat.
they'll be up there for a while, and all of a sudden they'll get hot, and the next thing you know, their clothes just starts coming off and off and off and off.
Okay.
That's pretty interesting.
And that's anticipation, though, for the girls.
It is.
But if they start out looking, scummy and, there's no anticipation there for them to want to take their shirt off.
Well, it's image. I mean, grunge had its thing. The 80s had their thing. It's... back in the 60s, they all wore suits and ties,
right.
and the Ed Sullivan Show. And so, I mean, there's phases and images, and,
right.
And somehow you kind of want to set yourself apart and be somewhat different than everybody else, but you don't want to be alienated as something completely obscure and weird.
I get right, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it's a job.
Yeah.
And these musicians have to look at it as a job because they're being paid. They're expecting people to pay to come and see them. And even, when I was a waitress, I had a uniform.
Right.
If I showed up at your table, with your t-shirt with a hole in it, and my hair all a mess, and would you want me to wait on you? Seriously, would you want me to wait on you?
No, probably not.
I'll write it
Well,
down.
you, yes, I'd let you get away with it. You, I would let get away with that.
I don't know if you listened to the Scotty Brown show, but it was so funny because I was at the Toad Tavern. I went to see Patrick Dune and the Desert Hearts, and Scotty was there before his show at Greenfields, and that's when I was talking to Scotty about coming in and doing a show with me. He says, "Do you videotape your shows?" And I laughed, and I'm like, "No," because of course that would be one. I'm thinking about doing it soon once I get all this down. But that's like one more thing I got to do. But he's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Because then I got to get out of my pajamas." So when he showed up for the show, I was in my pajamas. I had my sleep pants on with my sleep shirt that says "Need more coffee."
More coffee. Yeah, I was wondering that myself coming into this.
What I was going to be wearing.
Well, if it was video, then I
Oh, no.
found
Not
out
yet.
it wasn't. So I was like, all right, I don't have to.
No, and see, that's another thing. I do my own website and everything, so I'm trying to find. I just wrote a code for these mini players that I've been putting the archives out on, and now I want to try to write a code to do like a little video feed on my homepage that won't necessarily line up with the vocals, but just so people can look in the studio and see what's
That would
going
be
on.
great.
And,
You got a cool studio in here. You got your little band room over there. You got your interview room over here, and
thank you.
got your computers and everything.
I don't know.
Nice little setup here.
Getting a ceiling soon, I hope.
And I would let you wait on me, even if you were wearing something like that.
Thanks, Ma. I appreciate that. All right. How about a little Eddie Turner? We were talking about Eddie Turner before.
We were.
He's played with the Groove Hogs and Steve Crenshaw. Well, that's the Groove Hog. All these guys, it's just so funny how
It's a community. It's a
it
community.
is. And then last night I had Clark Hagan on, and he's a Grammy Award-winning engineer and sound guy.
Right.
And he starts talking about Dr. Izzy, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? You played, and Kenny Passarelli played on the Dr. Izzy?" Because I saw them at the Toad after the Patrick Dune band, and I wanted to get a hold of her to come in because I guess she's got just an amazing story.
Yeah.
And do you know she's a chiropractor? A blind chiropractor?
Wow.
I know. I had to talk to her. And she has an awesome voice and amazing. So I want to get them in here, but it's just like this whole music community.
It is a community.
It's like the Kevin Bacon thing. What is that? 7 Degrees to Kevin Bacon or something?
I haven't heard that. Maybe you could tell
Serious?
us a story. Maybe you could tell us a story.
Maybe I could tell you a story about
Yes.
what? What would you like to hear a story about?
Well, how about that Kevin Bacon thing?
Oh, it's just, I guess you can always say something and go backwards and you'll end up at Kevin Bacon. You've never heard that?
No.
Oh, I'm going to have to find that on the internet and message it to you.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like 7 Degrees to Kevin Bacon or something.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hilarious because it always works out. I don't know if it works out with anybody else, but the Denver music community, it does, because everybody is just one way or another entwined.
They are.
And it's awesome. And I tell everybody the first time I ever saw a jam was at Cheers. And Ron Waters had these jams on Sunday night, and these musicians just, no practice. They just get up with each other, and they're constantly interchanging.
Yep.
And they're just playing awesome music. No practice.
I've been at some Christmas parties where they'll have a band play, and then they invite all the rest of the musicians around, and they all come up, and one band will start, then pretty soon they'll be starting to change out musicians, and you'll have different combinations of different people, and they're all playing different stuff you've never heard any of them play before, and it's just some of the coolest jam sessions you've ever been to.
Right.
That,
And they just play wonderful together.
They do.
Yeah.
And they all get along, and it is a community and that's how they all end up switching around in bands anyway.
Right.
So
That's okay though.
That's
513.
it keeps things
like,
interesting.
How many years?
10, 11 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I first worked with them at No Excuses. They had a little different lineup back then. They've changed a few people, but Danny and Jack have been the staples of the band, and they've gone a long way. They're always playing up in last 4 or 5 years. I think they played up in Sturgis during the biker rally.
Did they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've been doing that for 4 or 5 years now. So
Wow.
and that's always a big thing for them. They've played a lot of different, something called Toadstock in Kansas, and
Code stock.
Toadstock.
Toadstock.
Yes, and high demand for that band. So they draw a lot of people in there, real good and
Yeah.
fun band to work with.
Yeah, I got to get
Great
Jackson
guys, great
in
guys.
here. Yeah, they are, and I got to get them in here. At least Jackson and Danny, and get the scoop on what's coming up next.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, we are going to play a little Eddie Turner, and we will be back with more Mo.
Some people can love in one lifetime, and for every woman there's a man. My baby says she wasn't put here forever. She's gonna love as many as she can. But what can I do? I'll just play it cool. I'll just play it cool. 'Cause that's the only thing that I can do. That's the only thing I can do. Now these women, they look so good these days. They can look so sexy in so many ways. They can wear those dresses above their knees and then make a man take his life away. Ow. But what can I do? What can I do? I'll just play it cool. Oh yeah, I'll just play it cool. 'Cause that's the only thing I can do. Now, wouldn't you just like to hear a little guitar? People may be wrong sometimes, but they can't be wrong all the time. They say like a cat has 9 lives, but my baby, she says she can love me so many times. Still, what can I do? What can I do? I'll just have to play it cool. It's the only thing I can do.
Wow, it's Mr. Eddie Turner. Black and Blueberry. I'm going to play. Have you heard of Filthy Tea?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I'm just opening your eyes to all this music tonight. We're going to have to get some of these people into X. Maybe I should do a show at X.
You should do a show at X.
I should do a show at X.
You should take your show on the road once a week or something.
You know, I want to do that. Once I start getting advertisers, I'm going to go to their venue as long as they got good Wi-Fi. And because even at my birthday, we tried plugging in this laptop.
Right.
And I couldn't get it to work. Oh, wait, somebody didn't know the password. Or the I'm not putting
and you're
any
looking
fingers.
at me.
But yeah, as long as they got good Wi-Fi, I want to do that. I want to go to their venue, you know, and even maybe during a lunch hour or a happy hour or something, you know, and even if I don't have a guest host, you know, bring people up, you know, that are sitting in there eating or go interview them or something. I do want to start doing that. Today would not be a good day to do that. It's flipping cold out there.
You have limitless options, don't you?
I do. I just have to, you know, get out there and do it.
Yeah, you will.
I will. All right. Well, here, I'm going to open you up to Filthy Tea. This song is called Black and Blueberry.
Watch you as you smile sweetly as you turn away. Tell me, boy, don't you cry. My soul feels life inside it's bleeding. You say au revoir, but we both know it's a lie. And I sigh. I've given up on dreaming. I don't know why I even care to try. Now I'm done believing. I'm just waiting for my life to pass me by. Head spins and I'm hardly breathing. My tears come down, I so silently reply. You're so numb, known for breathing. I'm supposed to let you go now, and I don't know why. So I sigh. Giving up on dreaming. I don't know why I even care to try. Now I'm done believing. I'm just waiting for my life to pass me by. So I see you when I'm sleeping. Some days I feel so lonely I could die. And all my soul is leaving. It's just sleeping through the teardrops in my eyes. Let's play the Powerball. Let's wish upon a star for something powerful enough to thaw your heart. I know it's wishful thinking. They say it's make believe, but in my heart the fairy tale is real to me. And I ain't got no shining armor, but I would have been your knight. And I never let them harm you. I protect you with my life. Let's ride and escape together. We'll stand and face your foes. I keep you safe forever. Your hero, so here we go. New places undiscovered. I will never need another, but you mix me up a potion. Now I'm choking as I suffer. Is it all coming back to you? The magic that you do.
There's a girl I know. She'd like to make your guitar. It's really nice for the show. They look good on your back. These old guitar straps. Baby, baby, Raven raps.
This is Remus Tucker. You're listening to Raven on the Rock, only on VRDO Radio.
As always, Raven on the Rock reminds you to please drink responsibly and always designate a sober driver.
Especially tonight. Well, no, not especially, but always do that. But even if you're not drinking, be careful tonight.
Yes.
I drove Emma to the gas station right before you got here. And knock on wood, I don't know if it's because I have like a garage in my trunk. I do. I never go anywhere without my tools.
I have a lot of tools.
Yeah.
That I got a suitcase full of stuff I carry around with me.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff I don't use.
Yeah. You mean for your car?
For my sound.
Oh, no. Mine's for my car.
I have a lot of stuff in my trunk, too. I have
a garage in my trunk. And I think I've only slid last year like once or twice. Once, I remember I got off work. It was like 1 a.m. and I drove up to North Glen. And how stupid am I? It was like a blizzard. There was like 6 inches of snow. And it took me like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours to get there. But here's little old Emma, going down the highway, and there's all these SUVs on, in the ditches because they're invincible. And
that's tough with the rear wheel drive.
I think it has a lot to do with the way I drive. I drive like a grandma. I know my car. I know, you can't give it a lot of gas. You got to be gentle. And then when you go to stop, you got to put it in neutral and you got to pump your brakes.
Well,
yeah. I love it.
And you got through safe?
Always.
Then that's what matters.
Always I get there safe. I did lose my tire and axle once, but that was during the summer. That's a whole nother story. The funniest one, even though losing my tire and axle on 470 during rush hour was funny, the funniest one was just this last summer. I went and picked up Michael Hornbuckle to come and do the show. And my accelerator spring came off.
Uh-oh.
We were on 470. And so I pulled over, because you got to stick your foot behind the gas pedal and pull it back up. So I pull over and I get my pliers. Now, mind you, I get shocks in my hands when I squeeze. So I go to get under the hood and I got my pliers and I'm trying to squeeze the pliers without getting shocks in my hands and dropping it and pull down on this spring to hook it back on. Son of a bitch, if I didn't get a shock. I let go of the spring flies off and rolls out onto 470.
Oh no.
And Michael's sitting in the passenger seat and he can't see me because the hood's up, So I kind of like peek around, look at him and smile. And then I'm like watching for the cars. And then there was a break. So, I hurried up and went out there and grabbed my spring. And Emma is always an adventure. She's lots of fun. See, I bet you can't say that about your car.
I can say that. A lot of old cars I had.
Yeah.
All kinds
Aren't
of strange
they fun?
stuff. They can be.
Yeah.
They can be interesting.
Yes.
They can give you all kinds of stories.
But see, that started your career because your car had the sound system.
Well, I don't know if it was great, but it was loud. It was loud.
And back then, when you're in high school, that's all that matters.
That's right.
And a lot of bands nowadays, too, as long as it's loud.
One, I had a car, and one, it had a stereo that was loud.
Yeah. Oh, you were the only one with the car. So you had to drive them to the gigs, too. Is that how that worked?
Well, no, because I couldn't haul equipment in it. No. Not too much. Had a friend got a station wagon. We got it. We put everything in the station wagon.
Yeah. I want you to know that drum set out in the music room, that all fits in Emma.
Is that right?
That's right. Yes. I brought that drum set to G.I. Jody's. all in one trip.
It's not one of those 80s drum sets with double kicks and 10 toms and 22 cymbals.
I'll tell you what, being a band photographer, cymbals and I do not get along. No.
They're obnoxious. The cymbals are obnoxious.
It is really hard to get a good picture when the drummer has a lot of cymbals.
Yeah. And a lot of, when you're running lights, you have to you cue yourself off the drummer a lot when you don't know the music, original music.
Right.
And so they have all those cymbals up there, and you're waiting for his hands to come down and
you can't
give you the finale. And no, you just... And then when they sing, you hear this voice, and it's like, where's that coming from? Oh, there's the drummer. Okay, I think he's singing there. Okay, I see the signal on his channel. There he is.
I didn't even think about that. You do lights, too.
I do lights, too.
Yeah. So if you can do lights and sound, I can do sound and video, right?
There we go.
I can do it. We'll see. I'll try.
1 step, 2 step, 3 step.
That's
there
right.
you go.
Baby steps. Baby steps. So, I was going to ask you something I forgot. So what do you think about youth musicians? Are you like a big supporter of youth musicians?
Oh, that's where the new music's coming from. I've done a lot of School of Rock shows with the kids, and they come back show after show, year after year, and you see them get better. You see these kids grow up, and you see them really start to develop into pretty good musicians.
Right.
I mean, some of them start out, they're pretty sloppy, and they're not comfortable on the stage.
Right.
But as time goes by, they start getting more comfortable. They start getting better. Their music starts getting more complicated, and you see some of these kids are, they're going to be part of the next community.
Right. I haven't been around these kids long enough to see I've seen a lot of difference in some of them, but my favorite was my own son. My first son played the cello, and from 4th grade to senior year in high school, he had the same orchestra teacher. And to go back and watch the videos and the difference from these kids in 4th grade and senior year.
Yeah.
The concerts get way more tolerable by the senior year, and it's in 90% of these kids were the same kids, and it was just an amazing way to watch it, But I have when I met him, he was 13. Now he's 16. These kids have to stop growing up. This really stinks. His name is Jacob Larson, and I'm going to have him back in on my show hopefully really soon, because I did a video show with him, and he is an inspiration, not just because he has an amazing voice and he sings the blues, but when he did my video show, he was talking about, at the time, I didn't realize they were his dreams. I thought, this stuff was in the works, and then after the show, his dad pulled me to the side and said, you're going to have to edit a lot of that out, because, he talked about playing with Steve Crenshaw and the Hornbuckles and the Groove Hogs and Hazel Miller. And his dad hadn't even talked to these people yet.
Oh, wow.
Well, now 3 years later, he has done it all.
Is that right?
Yes. So, never stop dreaming.
Well, some of these musicians start out very young. I mean, you look at like Steve Winwood and Stevie Ray Vaughan, all these people, these kids, they were going into clubs and playing and just playing with the big musicians, the big bands at the time and they weren't even, they put the big X's on their hands so they couldn't drink. And then after the show was done, they had to go sit outside. Right. But, some of these kids are at very young ages are
amazing.
You just can't believe, how old is this kid?
Right.
I saw Def Leppard on their first tour,
Yeah.
And then they were just kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know if they were old enough to drive at the time.
Really?
Oh, they were so young.
Huh.
They were teenagers on a world tour, you know? It's really, look at those kids up there.
Yeah.
Look at those kids. They're kids.
Yeah. And you know, it's great. I like to see these kids, especially the ones that I know, let their parents take control of their career instead of going out and getting these managers. Because there was this one, I think he was 16 here in Littleton, and awesome kid, awesome guitar player, awesome songwriter, great voice. And his friend put a video up of him, and he named it, "If Justin Bieber can do it, why can't I?" And this video went viral, and that was right when I was having a fundraiser. So I wanted him to come and do the fundraiser, you know, and sing a few songs, because that's what it was about, youth musicians at the time. And I couldn't get a hold of him on Facebook. He wasn't calling me back. 2 days later, he's on Oprah playing with Lenny Kravitz.
Oh, wow.
2 weeks later, I get a phone call from his manager in California asking me what I wanted him for.
Is that right?
Well, he lives here, you know, and this is a community thing, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Never heard another word about him. His Facebook page was never updated. His website was never updated. And this was, about 3 years ago. I don't know where he is.
I bet he's busy.
And I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think so. I think he may have, and, you know, if he's out there listening and I'm wrong about this, you know, call me up and come be on my show. But I think it happened so fast. It all went to his head, and he wanted this manager. Well, these kids have to realize these managers that come after you don't care how much money you make. They don't care about your career. They care about how much money you're going to make them. You know, stick with your parents for a while.
It's unfortunate that there's
people out there like
people
that.
like.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it's always been that way in this business.
Yeah.
Show business in general.
Right, and even adults have to be careful too. But
yes.
Yeah, you need to. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
There's a lot of people out there that, you know, used to be in a band. You know, until you get past, you know, I figure until you get in your 30s and you've got through the boyfriends, girlfriends, the kids, the careers, rehab, and all that stuff.
Yeah, look at Justin Bieber. He totally blew it.
Yeah, until, you know, it's hard to really call yourself a lifelong musician until you get a little older and through all that. Because if you don't get through all that, then you're just somebody that was in a band at one time.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter how talented or good or bad you were, just
Right.
sometimes it'll just the business will throw you out.
Right.
So
Yeah. Well, you tell me what you think about Mr. Jacob Larson. Here he is singing Superstition. So what'd you think?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I love Steve Crenshaw and Hornbuckles. Those guys.
Yeah.
They are just world-class players.
Yeah.
They are.
And for Jacob to get them, and it was just awesome. Awesome. So that CD is called The Blues is Calling. And I think you can still go to Jacob Larson's page to get that CD. So tell me about the show tomorrow night.
Well, we have Jack Russell's Great White coming in. They will be playing at X Saloon. They are... it's a show. I think they go on stage about 10:30 or something, but open the show will be Vivid Black. If you haven't seen them, they're a local band. They play cover band music. They are a great band. A lot of fun, good friends, and it should be a great night. The tickets are only $20, and it's best deal in town for a Thursday night. I imagine they're going to be doing some kind of autograph session afterwards, photographs and autographs.
Yeah.
When we do these kind of shows, they're long days.
Yeah,
because they're flying in. We're backline, all the instruments, all the amplifiers, drums. Those have been rented. We have to set those up, get all that ready for them.
Mm-hmm.
They come in, do a sound check, and hopefully nothing changes through with everything when we do the open. We change out a lot of equipment for the opening band so that we don't have to mess with any of their settings or anything. Set them up in front. They're a lot of fun doing these shows. Sometimes they can be a real headache. In this instance, they're not bringing a crew, so it'll be Blake and I working the show, which often
maybe I should come and learn.
Teach you all you want.
You could show me how to work that monitor thing. And I told you I'll bring my label maker for you.
Like I said, we're not quite that high tech yet. We use tape and Sharpies. But
oh, well, it sounds like a fun show.
Yeah, Blake will run the front of the house, and I'll be running monitors. I'm looking forward to the show. I haven't seen them and before. I mean, grown up on their music, love their stuff.
Yeah.
And every now and then you get to work with some fun bands and some bands that you always wanted to see. And
oh, cool. Well, if you and Blake decide you want some help, you give me a call.
Oh, we always need help.
I'm
always need help.
I'm always open to learning more. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me, and this was a lot of fun tonight.
It was a lot of fun.
It's something different for me. I've never done anything quite like this before.
Well, you got to realize you're part of the big picture. So you and Blake are, and all those sound engineers are out there, because it wouldn't sound as good as it does if you weren't there, right? Yeah.
I like to think that.
We all have to be a big team and a big family and work together.
That's right. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yep.
In the big machine.
All right, you guys tune in next week, and maybe we'll see you at X Saloon tomorrow night. What time does Vivid Black start? Doors open at?
I imagine doors will open about 8 o'clock. Vivid Black, I think, goes on about 9.
Okay.
So.
All righty.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, you people be safe out
on the
there.
Rock is
Stay
brought to you
warm.
by Rock and Raven Productions and the Scoop 303. I'd like to give a shout out to our musical credits for our intro, The World Famous Johnsons, our exit, Garco, and our Raven Raps commercial by Michael Hornbuckle. I'd like to thank Rely Local Littleton for sponsoring us, and you can check out all our advertisers on the left side of our website, ravenontherock.com. I'd also like to thank all the amazing musicians in Denver and around the world for sharing their music with us.